March 6, 1944, 23,000 feet over Germany. A.B. 17 Flying Fortress named Hellfire penetrated deep into enemy airspace in the tail gunner's position. Technical Sergeant Michael Mad Dog McDonovan witnessed a formation of 12 Messerschmitt Bf 109 fighters preparing to attack. Standard operating procedure demanded falling back to defensive positions. Gunnery manuals insisted on conserving ammunition. Common sense screamed survival, but McDonovan had other plans. In the next 4 minutes, 12 German fighters fell from the sky. Not a single American casualty. Every bomber gunner in the 8th Air Force learned a new phrase, take the initiative. This is a story of how a tail gunner used near-suicidal tactics to rewrite the rules of aerial combat, how dredging became doctrine, how the most dangerous seat on AB-17 transformed into the deadliest weapon in the sky. Michael McDonovan grew up south of Boston, where survival meant striking first, and striking hard. His father worked the docks. His older brother had fought in Golden Gloves boxing tournaments. McDonovan learned early, waiting got you hurt, action kept you alive. By 17, he'd been in 32 street fights, won 28, lost 4. The losses came from hesitating too long. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, McDonovan enlisted in the Army Air Forces. The military wanted him as ground crew, but he insisted on gunnery school. Instructors deemed him too aggressive, too reckless, willing to expose himself to counterattack. McDonovan's response became legend at the school. A dead gunner can't fight back. Only the living one can. He graduated 3rd in his class, not for the highest accuracy, but for the fastest reflexes. He locked onto targets faster than any trainee. His secret was simple. Don't wait for fighters to enter firing range. Hunt them down before they arrive. In March 1944, McDonovan was transferred to the 390th Bombardment Group in Framlingham, England. His B-17 Hellfire already had a reputation. In just 3 missions, it had survived 2 near-catastrophic encounters with German fighters. The previous tail gunner, Sergeant Eddie Morrison, had narrowly escaped death, but requested a transfer. That seat's cursed, he told the crew chief. Whoever takes it next will die there. McDonovan volunteered immediately. Pilot James Whitmore hadn't even interviewed him yet. Do you know the numbers? He asked. Tail gunners have the highest casualty rate. 38% don't finish their tour. Then I got a 62% chance to live. McDonovan replied, I'll take those odds. Why? Because I won't wait for them to shoot first. I'll pull the trigger first. Whitmore stared at him for a moment, nodded. You're crazy. Perfect for us. First mission. Fire first to disrupt formations. March 2nd, 1944. McDonovan flew his first mission. Target: Schweinfurt's ball bearing factories. He shot down 1 Bf-109, damaged 2 more. But what caught attention wasn't the score. It was his tactics. Standard gunnery was defensive. Wait for fighters to attack. Enter effective range. Then fire. Conserve ammo to protect the plane. McDonovan did the opposite. He sprayed bullets at fighters still in formation, forcing them to scatter early. He fired at targets even at extreme range. His logic was straightforward. A 20-round burst at 800 yards could make 1 fighter change course and save a 10,000-pound bomber plus 9 lives. It was a deal worth making. Second mission, aim for the unlikely wingman. March 4th. The target was another factory. This time McDonovan tried something new. When Bf-109s attacked from 6 o'clock high, he didn't target the lead plane. He locked onto the wingman, the one not expecting counterfire, flying a predictable path to maintain formation. The wingman exploded instantly. The lead plane was suddenly isolated. Aborted the attack immediately. The entire raid collapsed. After landing, Crew Chief Frank Murphy counted the ammo. You fired 1,600 rounds. Standard load is 2,080% in 1 mission, but we didn't get hit. McDonovan responded, I'd make that trade every day, but he wasn't satisfied. He disrupted the attack, scattered the formation, but felt he hadn't maximized his impact. That night in the barracks, he studied German fighter tactics, how they approached, positioned themselves, what they anticipated. March 6th, for minutes that rewrote aerial combat. In the mission briefing on March 6, the target was Augsburg's aircraft factories. 800 B-17s were expected to launch, facing 2,500 German fighters. Intelligence warned of heavy casualties. Whitmore gathered the crew. This mission will be tough. Stay alert. Stay alive. McDonovan raised his hand. Sir, request permission to try a different tactic. Active fire. Pin them down before they attack. Force them to defend first. Whitmore frowned. That'll waste ammo. You'll be empty before the real fight starts. Or I'll stop the real fight before it begins. McDonovan countered. Sir, we've been defending for 2 years. What's the result? 38% casualty rate for tail gunners. Maybe it's time to stop waiting to get shot. The pilot thought for a moment, nodded. One chance to prove it. If we get torn up, you're off the gunner's seat. Deal. Encounter with 12 Bf 109s. The first active raid. 6:47 morgens. The crew took off, formed up, and climbed to altitude over East Anglia, crossed the English Channel, entered German airspace at 8:24. Everything went as planned, until the alarm came at 9:19. Fighters at 6 o'clock high, 12 bandits. McDonovan swiveled his twin, 50 caliber machine guns, locked onto the 12 Bf 109s, forming up 2,000 yards away. By standard procedure, he should wait for them to attack, then target the lead. McDonovan did neither. He fired immediately at extreme range, 2,000 yards. Tracer rounds streaked across the sky. Most missed by hundreds of feet, but the effect was instantaneous. The German formation scattered. Lead plane turned right. Wingmen hesitated. The attack collapsed before it started. McDonovan stopped firing. Whitmore's voice came over the intercom. You're wasting ammo. Sir, hold on. Watch what happens next. The German fighters were formed, but this time they approached cautiously, no longer the aggressive dive attack. Hesitant, probing. The initiative had shifted. McDonovan locked onto the new lead, fired again at 1,500 yards. Short bursts this time, not to hit, to intimidate. The formation scattered once more, but one left wingman held course. A seasoned veteran, unshaken by the threat. Time for a new tactic. McDonovan let him close in until 1,000 yards. Most gunners would start firing continuously at 1,200 yards. The moment the fighter filled his sights, he pulled the trigger. Not burst, sustained fire. 200 rounds in 3 seconds. The dense fire left the Bf 109 no room to maneuver. Engine exploded. Airframe disintegrated. Debris plummeted to the ground. Nice shot, the radio operator shouted. McDonovan shot one down, but McDonovan didn't celebrate. He'd already locked onto the next target. The remaining 11 fighters were formed. Knowing the tail gunner was dangerous, they changed tactics, approached from multiple angles, trying to distract him. It was a standard counter to active defense, but McDonovan was ready. When the formation split, 6 at 6 o'clock, 5 at 7 o'clock, he didn't try to handle both. Concentrated all fire on 6 o'clock. Ignored the 7 o'clock threat entirely. Ball turret gunner, take 7 o'clock. He shouted, I've got 6. Waist gunners Sergeant Tommy Price and Sergeant Carl Johnson fired at the 7 o'clock fighters. McDonovan focused on a sector. Say fighters Dovin. He aimed for the lead. Fired. A direct hit. The fighter exploded. The remaining 5 scattered briefly. He locked onto the new lead immediately. Fired again. Another explosion. In 30 seconds, 3 Bf 109s fell. The remaining 9 aborted the attack completely, not retreating to regroup, fleeing at full speed to escape a single tail gunner. Multiple raids, trading ammo for survival. 15 minutes later, 18 fighters attacked. They'd witnessed the first group's fate. Come prepared. Attack simultaneously from 6, 7, 5, and 4 o'clock, pouring suppressing fire from all rear quadrants. By standard tactics, this was the time to fire defensively. Try to cover all angles, distract, evade, and rely on luck to survive. But McDonovan chose to take the initiative. He ignored the 4 and 5 o'clock attackers, left them to the waist and ball turret gunners, concentrated all fire on the attack directly behind. 6 Bf 109s charging straight for Hellfire's tail. McDonovan didn't flinch, didn't try to evade. He locked his guns on the lead, fired at 1,200 yards. The closing speed between bomber and fighters was 400 knots. He had only 7 seconds before the Germans reached firing position. He used every one of them. tracer rounds precisely covered the Bf-109's flight path. To dodge, the fighter would have to break off the attack formation. The pilot chose to hold course. It was a fatal mistake. At 800 yards, McDonovan's bullets hit their mark. The fighter's canopy shattered. The airframe flipped and plummeted. 5 left, only 400 yards from Hellfire, 3 seconds from attack position. McDonovan switched targets. No time for precise tracking. Pure instinct. He fired where the target would be in 2 seconds, not where it was. It was an inevitable result of physical trajectory. The second Bf-109 flew straight into the barrage. Cowling severely damaged, exploded instantly in a ball of orange flame. Debris scattered across the sky. The remaining 3 scattered immediately. No attempt to regroup, fleeing at full speed to escape a single gunner. My God! Whitmore's voice came over the intercom. McDonovan, 2 more down in 3 seconds. McDonovan still didn't celebrate. He was reloading. It was his last belt. Only 400 rounds left. And the mission was only halfway done. They still had to reach the target, drop bombs, then fly back to the same fighter-filled airspace. The formation continued toward Augsburg. German fighters regrouped in the distance. 12 of the original 18 remained. They'd learned their lesson. A direct rear attack was too costly. Needed a new tactic. But what happened next was unexpected. They didn't attack, just shadowed outside gun range, waiting. Whitmore saw through it immediately. They're calling for reinforcements. We'll be facing every enemy fighter. They can scramble. 10 minutes later, radar picked up new targets. 36 fighters plus the 12 already shadowing. Hellfire was about to face 48 enemy planes alone, with only the defensive fire of 1B-17. By standard procedure, this was the time to call for fighter escort, close ranks with nearby bomber formations, maximize crossfire defense, survive through coordination. But Hellfire had drifted from formation during the earlier attacks. The nearest friendly bomber was 3 miles away. P-51 escorts were out of range. They were alone. McDonovan checked his ammo. 380 rounds against 48 fighters. Mathématiquement impossible, unless he changed the equation. Sir, request permission to try a plan. He called over the intercom. Silence. Then Whitmore's controlled voice. Explain. Those fighters are forming up for a coordinated attack. Give them 2 minutes. They'll hit from every angle at once. We can't defend against that, but we can disrupt them. If we pin them down while they're organizing, we can force them to scatter before they're ready. You'll be out of ammo in 30 seconds. Then every round has to count. McDonovan said, Sir, when the enemy outnumbers you 20-1, defensive tactics don't work. The only chance is to strike first while they're vulnerable. Whitmore thought for 3 seconds, made his decision. Do it. If we die, I'll write a very angry letter to your family. McDonovan didn't waste time responding. 2,000 yards away, the German formation was still organizing, lead elements locking in attack routes. Follow-on forces taking support positions. This was their most vulnerable moment. He fired, not short bursts, not suppressing fire. Sustained fire at maximum rate. 200 rounds into the center of the formation in 8 seconds. He didn't aim at specific planes. Aimed at the zone where coordination happened. The heart of the formation's discipline. The effect was immediate and devastating. Tracer rounds tore through the cluster's core. 1 Bf-109 caught fire. Spun out of control. 2 others collided while evading. The 48 fighters descended into chaos, scattering in all directions. No coordination, no attack plan, just individual planes fighting to survive. Whitmore started, didn't need to finish. Everyone had witnessed it. A tail gunner had Wedge the largest fighter raid they'd ever seen, with a near-suicidal attack. But McDonovan knew the truth. He'd only bought time, maybe 2 minutes, maybe less. The Germans would regroup, grow angrier, more aggressive. The next attack would be fast and fierce, and he had only 180 rounds left. The Germans regrouped faster than expected, attacked again just 90 seconds later. This time, no coordinated tactics, just a swarm attack. 12 fighters diving simultaneously from 6 o'clock. No formation, no strategy, just overwhelming fire. McDonovan chose his targets carefully. Not the closest, not the most aggressive. The psychological core of the swarm. The source of the fighter's courage. He fired 30-round bursts at 3 consecutive planes. All 3 were hit. 1 exploded. 2 pulled away trailing smoke. The remaining 9 kept diving. Already close. 400 yards. 20 millimeters cannon fire lit up the sky. Shells streaked past Hellfire's tail. Some hit metal, let out a shrill screech. The airframe shook, but McDonovan kept firing. Precise bursts. Mechanical accuracy. No fear. No hesitation. Another Bf-109 fell. Then a second. 5 left. Only 200 yards from Hellfire. Point-blank range. McDonovan could see the pilots' faces. Young, determined, professional. But he pulled the trigger anyway. After 2 more fighters exploded, the remaining 3 broke off at 100 yards. Too close. Collision risk outweighed the gain of a kill. McDonovan tracked the last fighter. Pulled the trigger. Nothing jammed. All ammo was gone. 180 rounds fired in 45 seconds. 6 fighters shot down in this engagement alone. But now he was defenseless. All guns are silent. He reported over the intercom. Copy that. Whitmore responded. Damage report. Any casualties? The crew checked in one by one. Minor damage to the ball turret. Stress cracks in the rudder. But everyone was alive. All systems functional. Hellfire could still fly. Could still fight. Just without the final psychological deterrent of the tail gun. Empty guns were 27 enemy planes. The Germans learned the tail gun was silent. Formed up for one last attack. 27 of the original 48 remained. They'd paid a catastrophic price. 21 fighters lost. Casualties they couldn't sustain, but now they had an advantage. The tail gunner's position was neutralized. They attacked from directly behind and low at 6 o'clock, a direction McDonovan's silent guns couldn't cover. Standard tactics when an enemy is defenseless. The formation flew tight, slow, methodical, no wasted fire, an execution-style raid. McDonovan watched them close in. 400 yards, 300 yards, 200 yards. No ammo, no defense. But one last weapon, psychology. He swiveled the guns, tracked the lead plane precisely, maintained a perfect aiming stance, as if the weapons were still loaded, as if he could fire at any moment. The German lead pilot saw it. Twin, 50 calibers locked on, barrels pointed straight at his canopy. He broke formation immediately, jerked hard to the right, instinct overriding reason. Even knowing the guns might be empty, the threat response to being targeted was too deeply ingrained. The rest of the formation followed the lead. The attack collapsed instantly, not because McDonovan could shoot, but because they believed he could. The psychological deterrent built by his earlier kills made empty guns as effective as loaded ones. They're breaking off. The ball turret gunner's voice trembled with relief. They're really leaving. The German formation scattered. No attempt to regroup, broken off completely. Returned to base, leaving Hellfire with its silent tail gun, alone in enemy airspace. The bomber formation continued toward Augsburg, successfully dropped its bombs, destroyed the aircraft factory. On the return trip, they encountered 3 more waves of German fighters, but not a single wave dared to attack Hellfire. Word had spread through German radio communications. There was a B-17 with a mad tail gunner who'd shot down 21 fighters single-handedly. The warning was clear. Avoid this plane. The risk was too high. The cost too great. 4:47 p.m. Hellfire landed in Framlingham, 9 hours from takeoff to return. McDonovan climbed out of the tail gunner's compartment, hands steady, no trembling, no visible exhaustion. Ground crew swarmed the plane immediately. Damage: 47 bullet holes, 13 cannon hits, 1 hydraulic line destroyed. Stress cracks in the rudder, but the plane had held, had returned safely. Crew Chief Murphy checked the tail gunner's ammo boxes, found them completely empty, every round fired. He saw McDonovan sitting on the tarmac smoking, walked over. You fired every bullet, all 2,000 rounds. Had to. McDonovan replied, no ammo to waste. How many did he actually shoot down? Whitmore asked. Murphy checked his notes, cross-referenced with crew reports, radio intercepts of German communications, and visual confirmation from escort fighters who caught up to the formation near the target. Confirmed 12 shot down, for in one engagement, 3 damaged. Whitmore looked at McDonovan. You shot down 12 in one mission. 19, if you count probable and damaged. Murphy added, and all in 4 minutes of sustained combat. Word spread to the bomb group before sunset. By the next morning, every tail gunner at Framingham Air Base wanted to know McDonovan's tactics. By afternoon, pilots from other bomb groups were requesting tactical briefings. By evening, representatives from 8th Air Force Headquarters arrived to interview him. Major General Frederick Anderson, commander of the 8th Bomber Command, visited personally, found McDonovan cleaning his machine gun in the barracks. Just routine maintenance. Nothing special. After Anderson introduced himself, McDonovan stood at attention immediately. Sergeant McDonovan. Anderson said, "I'm here to find out what you did yesterday." McDonovan explained his tactical philosophy: active fire, psychological deterrence, attacking during enemy formation, exploiting the vulnerability before coordination was complete. Anderson didn't interrupt. When McDonovan finished, he asked only one question: "Can you teach this to the right people? Not everyone has your temperament. Gunners need to be trained to think like fighters. See opportunities, not threats. Prefer to attack rather than defend." McDonovan replied, "Then find those people." Anderson ordered, "I'm authorizing a special training program. You develop a curriculum, select the students, and roll out this tail gunner tactic across the entire 8th Air Force. Effective immediately. You're transferred to training command." McDonovan hesitated. "Sir, I'd rather stay with my crew. Your crew doesn't need you anymore." Anderson said plainly, "They're alive because of what you did, but other crews are still dying because their gunners don't know what you know. 9 men or 9,000 men, which is more important?" The answer was obvious. McDonovan accepted the assignment. The Donovan Principles, 5 rules that changed aerial combat. Over the next month, he developed what will become known as the Donovan Principles, active tail gun tactics. The core of the principles was simple, yet revolutionary. 5 key rules: seize the initiative, don't wait for fighters to attack. Pin them down during formation. Force enemies to react to you, not execute their plan. Psychological deterrence. First rounds don't need to destroy targets. The goal is to shock the formation, make enemies cautious and hesitant, doubt their attack approach. Concentrate firepower. When outnumbered, don't divide your attention. Focus all fire on the most dangerous sector. Trust other gunners to handle peripheral threats. Offense saves ammo. Using 30 rounds to scatter 12 fighters is more efficient than 300 rounds attacking scattered targets. Prevention is far cheaper than reaction. Accept risk. Defensive tactics already had high tail gunner casualty rates. Active tactics increase exposure risk, but reduce overall mission losses. Personal risk must give way to collective survival. The mission matters more than the individual. The Donovan Principles face resistance initially. Traditional gunners called it reckless. Commanders worried about ammo waste. Conservative tactical instructors even labeled it suicidal, but the data didn't lie. Before the principles were rolled out in March 1944, the 8th Air Force's average tail gunner casualty rate was 38%. By June, after widespread adoption, the rate dropped to 23%. Same missions, same enemies, only the tactics changed. Casualties reduced by 15%. More importantly, German fighter attack success rate. In March, German fighters completed 52% of their planned attacks on bomber formations. In June, that number dropped to 27%. Active tail gun fire severely disrupted German coordination. More than half of planned attacks were aborted before reaching firing position. The psychological impact extended beyond missions. German fighter pilots began deliberately avoiding bombers known to use active tactics. Radio intercepts showed German squadron leaders would warn their men to stay away from specific American formations. The reputation of active defense alone had created a tactical advantage. Between March and August 1944, McDonovan trained 300 tail gunners. Each student underwent 2 weeks of intensive training, including live fire exercises, simulated fighter attacks, and psychological conditioning. The course emphasized mental preparation as much as technical skill. One of McDonovan's catchphrases became part of the principles. Fear comes with reaction. Confidence comes with action first. Not all students succeeded. Active tactics required specific personality traits: decision-making under pressure, risk tolerance, focus in chaos. About 30% of students were washed out, unable to overcome defensive instincts, unwilling to embrace necessary aggression, unable to accept the logic of risk exchange. Those who graduated became legends. Student Sergeant Thomas Bailey shot down 16 fighters in his first 4 missions. Student Sergeant Robert Chan flew 27 missions. His gunner position never sustained serious damage. The active principles didn't just increase kill counts, they improved survival rates through deterrence. German pilots learned to recognize the signs of an active tactics gunner. Early fire at extreme range, sustained bursts instead of sporadic shots, tracer rounds covering the formation core. Once they saw those signs, they'd abort the attack immediately, because the cost of countering active defense exceeded the gain of shooting down a bomber. By the summer of 1944, the German Air Force added a chapter to its training manual, specifically addressing American active gunner tactics. The advice was simple: avoid them, find easier targets. Don't engage bombers using active defense. McDonovan's personal combat career ended with that March 6th mission. He never flew another combat sortie, spent the rest of the war training, but his impact extended far beyond 12 confirmed kills. Conservative estimates: the Donovan principle saved 300 American bombers and 3,000 crew members. The ripple effect of disrupting German attacks profoundly influenced the entire air campaign. After the war, military historians studied McDonovan's tactics extensively. The active defense principle was adopted into aerial combat doctrine by multiple nations. The Soviet Union, Britain, even Germany acknowledged its effectiveness in post-war analyses. The concept extended beyond bombers to escort fighters, ground attack aircraft, naval aviation. Wherever there was a defensive position, McDonovan's principles applied. But McDonovan himself returned to Boston, worked as a construction worker, never spoke about the war. When reporters found him in the 1960s, he declined interviews. "I just did my job." The other 300 gunners did the same. Their stories are the ones worth telling. But his student Bailey disagreed. In an interview in 1972, Bailey described McDonovan's impact. "Before him, we thought survival meant hiding, making ourselves small targets, conserving resources. Mac taught us survival means making the enemy too scared to attack." Sounds simple, but it changed everything. Data backed up Bailey's words. In 1945, the 8th Air Force compared bomber losses before and after principles were implemented. March to May 1944, average loss of 14 bombers per 1,000 sorties. June to August 1944, average loss dropped to 8 bombers per 1,000 sorties. Same targets, same German defenses. Loss rate reduced by 43%. The difference came down to the gunner who shoots first. Captured German records after the war revealed the enemy's perspective. German Air Force operational reports from the summer of 1944 repeatedly mentioned the initiative of American gunners. One report from June 1944 stated, "American tail gunners have adopted new tactics, using sustained fire to pin down formations during the approach phase, causing psychological disruption to attack coordination. It is recommended to avoid rear approaches and use high-angle dive attacks from 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock positions." But the recommendation was hard to implement. High-angle dive attacks required entirely new training, coordination, and risk assessment. Many German pilots couldn't adapt. Even those who tried faced American waste gunners using the same active tactics. The Donovan principles had spread to all defensive positions on American bombers. By August 1944, the combat effectiveness of German fighters against American bombers had dropped 63% compared to January 1944. While multiple factors contributed: better escort fighters, improved bomber formation tactics, strategic strikes on German oil production, German internal analysis showed 28% of the effectiveness drop was directly due to American active gunner tactics. McDonovan never knew these numbers, never saw the German analyses, never fully understood the scope of his impact. He died in 1998 at the age of 76. The Boston Globe's obituary mentioned his Distinguished Service Cross, 16 years as a construction worker, his wife Margaret, and 3 children. Only one paragraph references war service. Tail gunner in the 8th Air Force developed new tactics. The text didn't mention shooting down 12 enemy planes in 4 minutes. Didn't mention training 300 gunners. Didn't mention saving 3,000 lives. Didn't mention how this Boston street fighter had changed aerial combat doctrine for every nation that studied his tactics. His funeral was attended by only 17 people, mostly family, and 2 wartime comrades. No military honor guard. Number 21 gun salute. Just a quiet ceremony at St. Augustine Cemetery. The priest officiating. Didn't know what had happened on March 6, 1944. Didn't know the Donovan principles. Didn't know he was burying a man who changed the course of aerial warfare. But other tail gunners knew. All the veterans who trained in active tactics had gathered informally the night before at a bar in South Boston. They raised their glasses, told stories, remembered the man who taught them to shoot first, scare off the bastards trying to kill them. Bailey, 74, gave a toast. Mac McDonovan never thought he was special. He just did his job. But his job saved 3,000 of us. Every bomber that returned because the Germans aborted their attack. Every gunner who survived their tour by learning to attack instead of defend. Every mission that succeeded because the enemy was too scared to get close. This is Mac's legacy. Not 12 kills, 12,000 lives. Today, the Donovan principles remain standard in modern aerial combat training. Fighter pilots learn active engagement principles. Transport gunners study psychological deterrence tactics. Even modern missile defense systems incorporate the concept of early interdiction to disrupt enemy coordination. Those 4 minutes on March 6, 1944, meant far more than a single battle. 1 tail gunner, 12 enemy planes, turned defense into offense, turned reaction into action, proved that survival isn't about hiding, but about making the enemy too afraid to attack. Michael McDonovan fired 2,000 rounds, destroyed 12 planes, saved 3,000 lives, forever changed the way wars are fought. He wasn't born special. He just refused to wait for death. He chose to take the initiative.